Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're doing fine. I hope you're going to like today's video and you are going to like my today's theory and analysis. And in case you're watching for the first time, always remember to subscribe and like this video. Now, Moses Kuria sometimes back came and said that in 2027 we are not going to have an election. And what he literally meant that by the time we get to the 2027 general election, there will be an already predetermined candidate. And he gave an example of what happened in 2002 when people really wanted President Moi out. And by the time they were getting to that 2002 election, people were already prepared to have Mwai Kibaki because at that time it was the candidate preferred to change the country. He was that candidate who was very neutral, and a lot of people saw that he was able to stabilize the country at then. And that's why in 2002, Mwai Kibaki won with a 73% margin, and that's what Moses Kuria calls no election. In this analysis, we want to look into what will happen in 2027 that will lead to the same situation that happened in 2002 and why Moses Kuria said this. Ladies and gentlemen, remember that Moses Kuria doesn't just say things. As we're speaking, when he was giving those statements, he was an advisor to the president, an economic advisor to the president. And later, of course, he has left the Ruto's government and he gave it by to pursue political interest. But one thing you should note is, or you should have noticed that, as we're speaking today, Moses Kuria is on his way to join Jubilee Party. So, why is Moses Kuria joining Jubilee Party? That's the first question you'll have to answer yourself. Number two, Moses Kuria of late is really impressing President Uhuru Kenyatta. Actually, even in his Twitter handle, or his X handle, he has put the image of former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Ladies and gentlemen, the situation that happened in 2002 is that there was high contention. We had Raila Odinga, we had Uhuru Kenyatta then being the preferred candidate of Moi. We had Mwai Kibaki, and there was an higher consensus that to have President Moi go out of power, then we'll have to install a neutral candidate, somebody who has the capability of changing the country. And at that time, the people, all those people, the business class, the economic class, the people who are well-wishers of the country, had already pointed at Mwai Kibaki. Because one, he was somebody, an economist, somebody who could change the country. He was a neutral person. He had no issues with either political side. So when time came, Raila Odinga himself even came out and said Mwai Kibaki tosha, which formed the 2002 government. If you watch the dynamics of politics today in the Republic, we have the opposition, of course, with various different candidates, and we have President Ruto's side, of course, with Raila Odinga supporting it through the memorandum of agreement they already signed. Now, in case we are going to the 2002 way, and in case Moses Kuria words come to pass, who do you think is the candidate in the country right now that, number one, is very neutral, and number two, a lot of people, when the consensus build up, and when the consensus build up when the situation worsens, demonstrations are going on, business is not doing well, the economy is not performing well, jobs are not there, and a lot of things are unfolding and unfolding and unfolding. And by 2027, the country will have come and these things will have really exaggerated to a point where Kenyans want to pick somebody who will change the country and return it back to the lane where it was. And who do you think that candidate is or will be? If you, okay, let me give you a thought about it. Right now, we have people who are eyeing presidency. We have Maraga, we have Matiangi, we have Rigathi Gachagua, we have Stephen KALONZO, we have President Ruto, and maybe Raila Odinga can be on the way. We have Natembeya, we have Martha Karua. All those candidates are, we have Okiya Mtata. All those candidates have already shown interest to run for presidency in 2027. Even Moses Kuria himself said that he will be running for presidency in 2027. Given that list, when you watch closely that list, number one, who is that candidate who fits the shoe of Mwai Kibaki in 2002 when the country wanted Moi out of power and when the country wanted peace and stabilization? And for me, that candidate, those candidates are either two of them. And it's either Fred Okengo Matiangi or Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. When consensus builds in 2027, when consensus is building in 2027, and people come to agreement that to have the country back to where it was, to have everybody get a share of government, then we have to install one of these candidates. Now, let me narrow down to first Fred Okengo Matiangi. As we're speaking, remember that Fred Okengo Matiangi had already been fronted by Jubilee Party, which is an Uhuru Kenyatta party, because it's the one that brought him to power. And at that point, as we're speaking, Moses Kuria is on his way to Jubilee Party. Why should be Moses Kuria, who was on his party, join Jubilee Party? Question number one. Question number two is this. The Mount Kenya will be playing a bigger role in selecting presidency, like they did in 2022 when they gave President Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua. So, it should be that if, let's say they pick Fred Okengo Matiangi as the candidate who can return the country back to where it is, if they pick Fred Matiangi as the candidate who is now a person, a neutral candidate, mwenye is favorable to everyone in the political class. Moi was favorable to all sides. Hakuwa anatusiana mtu, hakuwa na ongelea anything. He was talking about issues, he was talking about the economy, he was talking about the changing class. Political exchanges he never had. He was a very, very sober man in 2002. Right now, Fred Okengo Matiangi fits that role of Mwai Kibaki in 2002. And trust me, if people go to that consensus way, where now it's to rescue the country, because at that point it's rescuing the country. People will say, rather Matiangi, so that our country can be rescued and be returned back to the lane. And if Matiangi is selected, then it means that his running mate will come from the Mount Kenya region. Trust me. When that consensus is built now, Matiangi, remember that he's from the Kusi region, which is not even among the 5 majority tribes. His running mate will be picked from the Mount Kenya region. No, this is now the catch. If Matiangi doesn't run under a Jubilee ticket, okay, if Matiangi either way goes for Jubilee or doesn't go for a Jubilee candidacy, which as for me, I know that high chances are he's going to run with the Jubilee ticket. But if he is advised otherwise, because Jubilee has been already in power, and some people may not support his ambition because of the Jubilee party, because it's already ruled, if he goes to a different party, maybe he picks UPA, that is a affiliated party from the Kisu region, the running mate will come from Jubilee party. And the high potential that this running mate will be Moses Kuria. Because why should be Moses Kuria moving to Jubilee party? And according to my thinking, or to how can cards play out, Moses Kuria is one of the preferred person to deputize Fred Okengo Matiangi. So that we'll be having a candidate from a running mate from the Mount Kenya region, like it was in 2022. So that the entire Mount Kenya region in that consensus can feel considered, and them having no issue with Fred Matiangi, they will fully support Fred Matiangi. But what happens at this stake is that a lot of people are likely to come in and drop in and support the consensus candidate, because at that time the wave will be entirely on its side. What if it's Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka? If it's Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, the consensus candidate, who will people believe will return the country to where it was, then its running mate will be maybe from the western region. Because western region is the second largest region. But without even giving more details, why I even gave Matiangi the first priority over Kalonzo Musyoka is that Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka has already been a former vice president during Mike Kibaki time. And at certain times, when if we go the consensus way, now where people come together, they sit and they are, let's rescue our country, then it entirely means that they will go for a candidate who has even never been in politics. And that's why Fred Matiangi gets in the upper hand. He has never been in politics. He has never run for any political seat. He has no issues. His corruption cases are very few. He has no scandals. It's just associated with a lot of things that associated with the ministry he was as the interior CS. And that's why he takes an upper hand as compared to Stephen Kalonzo. So, ladies and gentlemen, can tell me what you think if you're going to the consensus way in 2027, according to Moses Kuria statement that we will not be having a presidential election in 2027 because we'll be having already predetermined candidate. Ni kwenda tu kupiga kura kumpitisha. Who do you think is your candidate? Don't come here and tell me, oh, you are wrong, oh, it's going to happen. Tell me, who do you think is your preferred candidate in case you are going to the consensus way? Stay safe and have a nice day. Be well.